To5a TC1 Clios at Knockhill, and we've got Andy on pole on the reverse grid pole with Diesel alongside. We've got VX Dave and Lee on the second row of the grid, the Baron, Mark on the third row of the grid, Mark on the fourth row of the grid, and Graham lines up at the back in ninth place. Let's see who's going to get away well. It's a bit of a twilight race. It's a good start from Lee in fourth place. He goes for a gap, but there's no longer a gap there. He squeezes the two cars around him and they all get away with it briefly, but then Diesel and Lee are coming together and they got off in the background. One of the other cars, I didn't see who that was. I think it was the Baron, and there's a bit of carnage going on there as they head down the hill for the first time and up towards the John R. Weir chicane. Andy leads at the moment. It's been a good start from Andy, not involved in the incidences between the other cars. Mark R172 is third place at the moment, trying to close down on VX Dave, and let's go on board with Mark as we head down towards the hairpin for the first time. We'll get an idea of the right, we've got safety car out. Safety car has been called, so the pack now slows down, and we'll take a moment to gather everything together and work out who is where. So Andy leads VX Dave around at the moment. You can see Lee and Diesel and the Baron have recovered in the background, and it's lights off on Andy's car at the moment, interestingly, in the lead of the race. In the background, Diesel just coming up the hill there. None of the boys coming into the pit, I don't think, so it should be a straightforward restart towards the end of this lap. And as you can see, Andy's still with the lights off. He drives with the lights on when it's broad daylight and then turns them off as soon as it gets dark, which is very helpful if you're trying to work out where he is on the track. What else can we say? Well, it's a good race if you're a Mark at the moment, because you're either third, fourth or sixth. Graham's moved up. Remember, he was on the last row of the grid on his own. Lots of cars off in the background, even under safety car conditions. Lee and Diesel and the Baron, I think, coming together there. Yes, lights back on for Andy anyway, so that's good. We'll be able to see where he's going. But yeah, good race if you're a Mark, but probably so far the most impressive. Graham coming up from ninth on the grid, and Graham missed out the first meeting of the season in the Clios, but he's getting back on the pace instantly and has already taken 2 podium positions today, and Andy leads them away. I think it's a decent restart. I think he's caught VX Dave napping somewhat. Let's have a quick look then. Is there a bit of a gap? Yes, there is. It's much closer if you look where Mark is, and we'll go on board with Mark as we head down into turn 1. He tries to close on VX Dave. There's a big slide from Andy up ahead though, and VX Dave and Mark collective down on him. We've got is that Mark caught up behind us. Mark makes a big mistake, bobbles over the curb, but I think that Mark caught behind us could not take advantage of that. VX Dave meanwhile trying to make a move up ahead against Andy. We've got a really good on-board view here. He can't do it through there. Andy sideways again though. Is that going to give VX Dave an opportunity? I wonder as they head down towards the hairpin. It could give him a decent run, and we look towards the front runners. I don't think they're close enough, but I tell you what, the battle for third is definitely on, because you've got Mark caught. VX Dave did manage to slip through, but he's been boxed out and he's lost out, and he drops back to third. It might end up being fourth. That all happened so fast. We've actually got Andy in the lead and Mark in second. Graham's now moved up to third ahead of VX Dave, so this has really gone all topsy-turvy for the championship leader at the moment, and that's one of the cars squirming across. I think that was Graham losing control of the car, but he gathers it back together just in front of VX Dave's red and black car. There is Graham at the moment, and he has recovered it well, but meanwhile for the race lead, Andy is under pressure from Mark, but Graham also under pressure from VX Dave as they head down towards the hairpin for the 4th time of asking. And just looking back towards the race leaders, is there going to be a move on, I wonder? Is there going to be a move on behind? VX Dave is trying around the outside of Graham. I don't think that's going to work. He had to go and try on the inside of Andy last time. That didn't work. Tries on the outside of Graham. That doesn't work. Mark, meanwhile, is really trying for that race lead, and he's side by side. He's actually taken the lead as they've gone up the hill. An excellent run from Mark, and he inherits the lead. Well, doesn't just inherit it, works for it, gets through brilliantly, but there's contact, and Andy goes into Mark. Oh my goodness, I wonder how many times we'll see that this season. Andy takes out Mark from the lead, and the two of them have to restart from the back. Graham inherits the lead, that's the correct word this time. He did inherit the lead after the accident there between those boys, but it gets a huge slide on through Carlo corner, and VX Dave immediately putting Graham under pressure. Looks to the outside again, because Graham does not give up the inside easily. And where's VX Dave in relation to Graham? Oh, they push each other, but they give each other room. These boys have got massive respect. Of course, they've been teammates on several occasions, and they have diced and diced and diced, but they do keep things very clean and careful between the two of them. And what an excellent bit of driving from Graham. He retains the lead for now, puts his elbows out, but plays fair nonetheless. And we got Mark Court running third place at the moment, and Mark R172 recovering well. He's in fourth place, so we go on board with Mark. Brilliant run through the chicane. That was a superb piece of driving, car control and everything. And he's on the back of Mark Court, who is second place in the championship at the moment. So Mark having a really, really good championship run, and he's chasing down his rival, really, per se, which is VX Dave at the moment. VX Dave so late on the brakes, almost messes it up, but gets a nice apex actually. Really so late on the brakes compared to Mark Court. But Mark Court was excellent too, because he controlled the car beautifully, got a lovely apex, he's got a great run up the hill, and meanwhile Graham can scamper away from the three of them behind. So not much to choose between any of these boys at this stage in the race, it has to be said. Graham looking very comfortable at the moment. Mark Court makes a mistake. R172 tries to make a move, can't quite do it, but good driving though, because they're not bashing into each other, and that's important. But Mark Court again slow through the chicane. He's lost out a bit to VX Dave, a fair chunk on this lap, whilst VX Dave is now released and has an opportunity to go and try and close down on Graham once more. And we head down towards the real radio hairpin for the 7th time, and up the hill we go. VX Dave looks like he's got a good exit that time, doesn't he? Is he on the outside of Graham as they come up the hill? Yeah, this is much better this time. That was a superb exit. He may even try and drive all the way around the outside of Graham. I don't know if he's brave enough to try and hold it on the brakes. Graham goes really well on the brakes, holds on to that position. There's almost a touch between them, but there's barely a cigarette paper that can fit between them. Graham holds on for now, bounces over the curve. VX Dave again getting an opportunity of a run, but it's not going to be possible to find a way through there. Again, VX Dave just looking slightly tighter than Graham through there. It is more difficult to control the race from the front in these cars. They are identical, and you pick up a bit of a boost from the slipstream when you get that. So VX Dave unsurprisingly hassling Graham this time. He's trying to force an inside. He's got it. He's done the move. Can he hold on to it? No, there's a little bit of contact. And Graham now loses out because VX Dave was so slow on the apex, having belted into the corner at such a rate that he slowed himself up. Mark Court now gets back up to second place and might have a shot at chasing VX Dave down for the race lead here. Gets a good line in. Actually, Mark Court a little bit wide of the apex, and but the four of them still running really well at the moment. And we'll just have a quick look back at the rest, because we've got Martel and Andy. These were the two boys that came together earlier. Apologies, I was thinking it was Andy and Mark R172. But yeah, Mark and Andy. So Martel unfortunately losing out. You see the dinching on the front of his car, but they're having a good little ding dong. And Graham and Mark are swapping positions once more as they go down into the hairpin. We've missed that. So Graham back up the inside of Mark Court, and back up the hill we go again. We're coming up to the 2/3 of the way through this race. It has been quite a battle, but for the first time in a while, the race leaders managed to get away, and this time it's VX Dave. Graham had got away a little bit at the start, but Whether VX will be able to maintain that margin, who knows, because it's proved very difficult for anyone to actually break away in the lead. Look at Graham in the background, that's a big slide. That gives the position back to Mark Court, and he's under pressure from, no sorry, that was Mark R172, because he's got past Mark Court. So, Mark R172 is now up to second place, and we've got Graham down to third, demoted down to third, self-demoted after that gravel trap trip. But Mark Court's still in a fine fourth place at the moment, and still second place overall in the championship. A little flash of the lights there, just checking they're working. Further back, well, still a bit of a battle between Martel, Mark, Andy, Lee probably with some damage. No, definitely with some damage. I think he picked up on the first. We'd even got to the first corner, partly self-inflicted. Yeah, just a squeezing of lots of cars coming together. Is that Diesel? That's the Baron in the background getting a big slide on. Diesel is a fair way behind actually, it's just coming up over the hill now. VX Dave's now got a 1.2 second advantage over Graham, extending to 1.3, and it's the two Marks fighting for that final podium spot, both of those looking pretty equal on speed. And there's just not too much longer left of this race left to go. It's starting to calm down a bit now compared to what we had earlier on. These guys are still pretty close on track. And that's a big mistake though from Martel. He's not going to want to have any more mistakes like that. He's got biffed off earlier on in the race, and that's going to put him right back towards the back of the pack, because there's the Baron trying to come alongside. Martel was a little bit blind to that because the Baron was coming in at a massively higher speed, and the Baron takes position, I think, will he? Yeah, he goes around the outside of Martel, so that's fair as fair. Graham up front is actually catching VX Dave once more. There's just 7/10 between them, so the battle is still on for this race win with just 3 laps left to run. We'll go on board with Graham and see what he can do. VX Dave bounces over the curve, then Graham follows suit. VX Dave, is he on apex? He's pretty much on apex. Graham slightly better through the right-hander there, bouncing over the curbs they go. Who's good through there? They're both good through there. Big bouncing from VX Dave, but he gets a nice exit. Probably slightly better than Graham on that occasion. But you can see the back ends of these cars being pretty uncontrollable. Neither of them quite getting the apex right there. And you can see how bright the sun is as they head down the hill. 170, almost 180 kilometres an hour before slamming the brakes on. Big trail of lock-up smoke from VX Dave's car. Graham initially getting in a superb exit but carries so much speed he goes across the grass. That's not going to help. And but the gap is still down slightly. And it's a similar picture just behind with these boys, the two Marks, who are still going hammer and tongs over third and fourth. Sorry, apologies, Mark Court has actually dropped back quite a way there, so that's not happening. It's actually Andy and Lee now having a good... Oh no, huge mistake from Andy. Oh, Lee's gone into him, but Lee had nowhere to go there, absolutely nowhere. He is really out of luck in this one, that's for sure. That did not work out, and that was not any of Lee's doing. VX Dave up front has now pulled a massive half second back over Graham, so there's just games being played between these boys at the moment. One of them's quicker on one lap and then the other on the next, and these boys are still quite close on track, but you're looking at one of the lapped cars as well there. So you've got, we're watching Mark, and he's got ahead of the lapped car, which is sorry, I'm trying to work out who that is. Sorry, it's not a lapped car. Mark and Mark are still very close on track, but the battle for the lead is coming to an end. There's less than a second between them. It's the final lap. I don't know that Graham's going to have an opportunity. He makes a mistake. I was going to say not unless VX Dave makes a mistake, but unfortunately for Graham, he's made the mistake there. I don't think it's going to happen for him this time. VX Dave comes down towards the hairpin for the last time. You can just see a back marker up ahead, but that won't be worrying him because all he's going to do is get across the line this time, and VX Dave wins for the third time today in the Clio Championship. It's a great drive. It's a really great return from Graham as well, who didn't do the first meeting. Mark finishes third, a great result as well for Mark, and Mark Court as well, fourth place. These boys really the class in the field there. They battled throughout for that victory. Really, really good stuff. The Baron, he's not had the best luck. He's had some good races this season, but this one was okay, I suppose. But a lot of boys out of luck in this one. Andy actually recovers amazingly to 6th place. I don't quite know how he's managed that, because he's been involved in so many incidences this race. And Lee is just going to hold on ahead of Mark across the line. It's almost a photo finish. Martel finishes 8th, and Diesel rounds out the finishes in 9th place.